For many years, I would ask the question, why would Nixon help China become a behemoth in 1971, 1972? Why would you have Kissinger fake? He's sick. Pakistan goes to China, brokers a deal. On the way back in India, he gets sick, so he can fool everybody else, and then all of a sudden the deal gets done. But at the time, who was their enemy? It wasn't China. China was barely a top 10 economy in the world. Nobody woke up in the morning worrying about what China was going to do. But there was another country called USSR that was a behemoth. And Nixon and Kissinger used an old idea from Otto von Bismarck, the previous chancellor in Germany in the 1800s. While he is not the biggest country in the world, not militarily nor GDP, but he used this triangular diplomacy to decide how to get along and work with France when they were the enemy, Italy, Austria, all these guys, and he was able to pull it off. Kissinger brought it up. However, that may have been a good decision in the 70s, but that has cost us a lot of issues today because China's now a behemoth, and President Trump is trying to decide who is a better ally today. Does he side with China? Does he side with Russia? We're going to talk about that today. All right, if you give value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Stick around to the very end. I'm going to give you the PDF to all the notes and where to go to get them. Having said that, let's get right into it. 2 key words for this triangular diplomacy to work. But before we do that, many times when you think about, well, Pat, wouldn't it be awesome if US got along with China and with Russia and we all did business together? China does business with US, Russia does business with US, and Russia and China do business together, and it's utopia. Wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't that be awesome? Nope, this wouldn't work because there's 2 things you need for you to be able to drive and move. We're going to talk about those 2 T words at the end. This next one is where some may say, well, wouldn't it be great if US has great relationship with China? We're doing business with them. Russia's doing business with us. We're doing business with them, but China and Russia don't get along. This is also tough to do because they need each other for oil, business, their neighbors. They have to find a way to do something together, right? Number 3 is what? US has a good relationship with China, bad with Russia, and China's bad with Russia. That's ideal. You pick and choose one side. The other one is US has a good relationship with Russia, bad with China, and China and Russia don't have the advantage, so you're able to leverage one of the relationship to get this person to work with you on things that you need. And a worst possible situation is what? For US to not have a good relationship with China, not have a good relationship with Russia, and you get these 2 guys to become great with you, you're in deep trouble. So the 2 things you need, the 2 T words, one of them is trust, the other T word is tension. You need trust and you need tension. Whether the tension is with Russia, but there's trust here, or vice versa, now you can actually drive some of your motives that you have in place. Today, the president is on one hand trying to do stuff with Putin, and then all of a sudden he notices Putin's not playing ball, he's making it difficult. Then all of a sudden publicly he comes out, says things to Putin, and then he says, I think we're gonna figure things out with China. And then he goes to China, puts sanctions on Russia, and then what happens all of a sudden? This is the scenario. I'm gonna put sanctions on Russia when it comes down to buying and doing business with them. What do Chinese business owners say? Hey guys, we can't buy oil from you. Why? Because he just put sanctions on us. Wait a minute, are you kidding me? No, I'm not. Who are the 2 countries Russia relies on to buy oil from them? Number 1 is China, number 2 is India. You can't be doing that. Then India, Modi says, I'm gonna go buy oil from Russia, and then US is like, wait a minute, Modi, what are you doing? So then Trump has to go to Pakistan and kind of work with, you understand how this works out. So this is the triangular to be able to use a little bit of tension and a little bit of trust. But let's take a look at this, on how this whole thing works out. When we look at history, this is what you'll find, okay? In 1973, this is the size of army, the biggest size of the army in the world. Soviet Union is number 1, and number 2 is China. They're relatively right next to each other. We're number 3 when it comes down to size. When it comes down to GDP in 1973, guess what you'll see here, okay? We're number 1 GDP by a mile. Who's number 2? Soviet Union. Pay attention very closely to this. Soviet Union is number 2. Where's China? China's all the way down here. Very small GDP. Nixon opens it up, and China one by one, they take out Canada, Italy, UK, France, West Germany, Japan, Soviet Union. There's only 1 country left. So you look at this, you're like, well, okay, at the time, why did we open them up? Well, because Russia was starting to become so powerful, Kissinger and Nixon needed a little bit of tension for them to become humble again. We can help China because they have what? They have a ton of people that live there. They have a ton of workers. We can produce products cheap. We can benefit from their manufacturing, and then we can essentially humble who? Hey, Soviet, you're getting a little too arrogant. Pump the brakes. Now watch. Let's continue when we're looking at this on a couple of the other slides. Go to 1881, okay? This is the story of Otto von Bismarck that we're talking about. In 1881, this is GDP. UK is number 1. US is number 2. France is 3. Germany is 4. That's Bismarck. Russia, and suddenly you're looking at an 1881 military size. Russia's massive, okay? France is 2nd. Then you have the Qing Dynasty, German Empire. He's sitting in between Hungary, in between France, in between all of these guys. He's trying to find a way, what are we gonna do about this? So for him, in 1873, he creates the alliances. Who was the first one, the Three Emperors League? Germany, Austria, Russia. He's protected against who? He isolates France. This is Bismarck that we're talking about. 1879, it's a dual alliance. Him and Germany and Austria and Hungary. Mutual defense against Russia. 1881, 1884, Three Emperor Alliance. Germany, Austria, Russia again. Same thing, 1882, Triple Alliance. Germany, Austria, Italy this time against France. This is how he was able to protect himself against possibly being bullied, even though they were not the biggest. Now, stay with me here. When we go and take a look at 2024 and where we are today, now look where we are. China went from 8 or number 9 economy to number 2. And when Russia was all the way at the top, you know where Russia's at now? Russia drops to barely number 9 on the list, number 10 on the list. Why? Because at that time, Kissinger and Nixon are trying to find a way to humble USSR from becoming too powerful. They chose a not as strong ally that the other country needs. They sided with China. It was a temporary win in the 70s and the 80s, but today in 2025, they helped a small little country that didn't have a lot of GDP. China had a lot of people, not a lot of GDP, and now they're standing up here. And where's Russia at now? All the way at 10th place. So now that's GDP. If we look at military size, look what's going on today, okay? What do you see? China, military size 2025, massive. India, number 2, massive, out of nowhere. US is 3, look who's behind US. North Korea, look at Russia. It is such a close race. It's never been like this when you're looking. So then you have to go down here, kind of look at, well, because it's always choosing number 3 against 2. Because 2 is powerful, so 2 and 3 together beat you. But if you side with 3, 2 has to listen to you. So in this case, even though Trump would ideally like to go with Russia to team up against China, but they're not playing ball, and Putin's like, look, man, I'm not gonna be easy with you because I'm trying to get what I want from Ukraine. And then this is when all of a sudden he also flips it on Russia. It's like, really, then I'm gonna go side with Ukraine. Hey, no problem, do whatever you wanna do with the things you have. But wait a minute, why are you going there? Again, 1 with 3 against 2. 1 with 3 against 1. In this case, military that we're looking at, not GDP. So let me bring it back to you on what we're talking about here and how this applies to today. So while we're talking about all this, the ideal situation that Trump would probably want to follow the triangular diplomacy of Kissinger as well as Bismarck would be for the relationship to be better here, to put pressure here. But he's not playing ball. So if he doesn't play ball, what do you do in a situation like this? These are few things that comes to mind for you to be thinking about, okay? What matters here, outside of the 2 words, Trump is an expert at creating tension, He uses tariffs, he uses sanctions, he uses things he says on social media, posts he put on Truth. He is so good at creating tension, but now it's gonna come down to what vision is he gonna be selling? Hey, China, let's work together because imagine if, ... Hey, Russia, imagine if, and then you may be selling a vision and a plan that's very good, but maybe the other party is not wanting to play ball. So if they're not what Putin's like, I'm not gonna play ball, then you have to leverage, which your leverage is what? Sanctions, tariffs, public humiliation, everything that he'll use. And then you have to make sure you bring your biggest diplomats that everybody get diplomacy done, patience. There's an element of unpredictability, which we know the president has. And last but not least, say if you're Putin, and he comes to the table and figures things out with Ukraine. Trump has to figure out a way to do, again, this is my opinion, I could be fully wrong. Trump has to figure out a way to do this while Putin still saves face in front of his people and in front of the world stage. This applies to China, this applies to India, this applies to Putin, this applies to Zelensky, this applies to all of them. This skill set of helping the other person save face is a very, very important skill set in this arena. Very, very, you know why? Because every one of these guys that is doing what they're doing for their country, what do you think they are? If we say we're America first, what do you think Putin is? Russia first? What do you think Xi is? China first? What do you think Modi is? India first? You have to make sure and understand that these guys are driven by their legacy and their history books. What are history books going to say about Putin? What are their history books going to say about them? Of course, many of these guys can kind of make it good about them, but they want to make sure it looks and says, President Putin or President Xi, Prime Minister this, Prime Minister that was part of the most incredible peace tariff deal in the history. He has to do that. And President Trump is very capable of doing this. So in this situation, everything that we talked about right now could change. You know why it could change? Because you can't control what the leaders are going to be doing. We don't know what China's going to do. We don't know what Russia's going to do. But my prediction, if this tariff deal gets done with China and they figure something out and the announcement is made, it'll be a day where the market can go up 3 to 5% in one day. When that announcement is made, it'll go up 3 to 5%. And if a bunch of these things get done, Russia, Ukraine, the tariffs with China, the sanctions being lifted on Russia, let's say all that gets done before 2026 World Cup, you know what World Cup could be seen as? With all the enemies being in the same room together, you know what that could look like with the competition, with the tournament, with the market opening up, with 250th anniversary of US? It could be a very, very special year in 2026. But that comes down to what Xi and what Putin want to do and if they want to play ball with the president or not. If you got value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you want all the notes, and by the way, we got a ton of research in here that I haven't covered. Go to the next circle. The QR code is going to be somewhere around here. Download the app, get the notes for free. That will give it to you to share it and study and do whatever you want to do with it. And if you want to learn more about Henry Kissinger, what an interest, who was this guy? Well, why is this guy such an interesting guy? President Trump the other day said, I believe Marco Rubio is going to go down as better Secretary of State than what Kissinger did because Kissinger would leak information. He said that. Just a few weeks ago, he said this. So if you want to learn more about Kissinger, click here to watch the video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.